One. Welcome back to Two Guys Watching Football. It's your co-host for this episode, Mike Crawford at Abukari on Twitter. And as you can tell, there are two guys, but it's two different guys. And that's what me and Cole have always talked about with this channel is like, look, it's just two guys. Sometimes it might be three guys. Sometimes it might be four guys. But who the guys are is going to change, right? It's probably very rarely going to be the same two guys. So honored and privileged to be joined tonight by Denard Melton. Denard, how's it going?
I'm good, sir. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, can't complain. Got an interesting topic we're going to introduce and talk to people about tonight. Something that you're calling impact sacks, which I think really says it all. But before we unpack all of that, I'll just remind people that you are also on Twitter at Denard13, and they can certainly get at you that way. You're always out there talking Ravens, chopping it up. But before we jump into the impact sacks, tell people a little bit about your background, kind of, your love affair with football and, as a Ravens fan.
Absolutely. So just a little bit about myself. I played at James Madison for 4 years. I started for 3, was captain for 2. Started out at weak side linebacker, moved to strong side linebacker, and then my final 2 years, I was at the middle linebacker position in the 4-3. So I do have a lot of insider knowledge when it comes to the 4-3, just because my coaches at the time, Dick Hopkins and Colin Gillenwater, literally would trap me in film rooms and say, tell me what you see so we can make sure we're all on the same page when we get on the field. So I'm excited about talking more Ravens. I love everything that is defense. I think it is very much an underrated part of what people do not talk about on Twitter. I think it's fascinating, the game plans that go into it. So I hope we get more and more into that as we go.
Couldn't agree more, man. That's definitely kind of what we connected over was defense, because it's near and dear to my heart. I don't have nearly the playing background or experience that you do, as people probably know from some of the other stuff that we've done here. I was a slow, short, unathletic high school cornerback. So that's my claim to fame in terms of playing. But I do appreciate defense. And I think, obviously there's a huge tradition with defense and the Ravens. But with, Lamar and what he's brought to the table, the offense, maybe it's taken a little bit of that shine. Rightly so. That's well deserved. But we're never going to forget about the defense, because that's where it's at for us. So impact sacks. Let's talk about that a little bit before we get into this film that we want to show. We were talking about this a couple days ago, just talking about sacks in general, because obviously that's been a topic with the Ravens drafting Odafe Oweh, and everybody's heard by now he didn't have any sacks in this 2020 season. We heard Wink, doing a conference call with PSL holders saying that he thinks sacks are maybe one of the most overrated stats because of how many things have to happen in order for somebody to get a sack. So there's been all this talk about sacks. And I remember we were chatting about it and you were like, hey, there are sacks and then there are sacks, right? All sacks are not created equal. So tell us a little bit about, what you were thinking when you came up with this idea.
So what I was thinking as a defensive coordinator in high school for 5 years, you always try to figure out how to impact games, not just stats, not just plays and things along that sort. So watching Ravens games and paying attention and understanding game flow, game plans, things along that sort, and people talking about sack numbers and 10, 12, 15 sacks, and that's the barometer people want to use as what a dominant pass rusher looks like. And for me, a dominant pass rusher is someone who's there to make the plays in the fourth quarter, who are there to make the plays in the second quarter, who make a sack on 3rd and 6 and knock them out of field goal range, and then your team goes down and scores 6 points. So my idea behind this whole thing was, how can you calculate that in a sense of a game, in a sense of a season, in a sense of a player? Because everybody wants to say, well, the Ravens need someone who can rush the passer and get to the passer. That's great and all. But there are games where, and we saw them this year, where certain guys got 3 sacks in a game, but it was 36-7. How much does that impact a game? Or a cat gets it's 3rd and 7, and I think we have a clip of this, but 3rd and 7, it's 4th quarter, team's driving, team needs a sack right now. That's what I'm talking about as in terms of an impact sack. He goes out there, gets a 6-yard loss, knocks him out of field goal range. Game suddenly changes. Instead of it being 24-17, team goes down, kicks a field goal, team goes down, gets 7 points, game over. Now we're just playing the string out. So I believe sacks mean different things in different parts of the game. I would even lump in pressures into that because pressures end up causing turnovers, causing turnover on downs or get off the field on 3rd down. So it's really game management, but game flow in terms of when these sacks happen during the game.
Yeah, you just gave me another idea with that last one. You just dropped that gem right there. I'm jotting it down on my little notepad. Impact pressure is coming, part 2.
Yeah,
where it might not necessarily have been a sack, but it can still be something that pressures that passer and forces him to do something with the ball that he doesn't want to do, and can change the game. So I love that idea. So yeah, I got that.
We talked a little bit about Wink and his schemes and how he can scheme up pressure. Mm-hmm. That's an impact pressure when he can scheme up a pressure on 3rd and 6 and get you off the field. Mm-hmm. So, is that an impact rusher? Is that what we're looking for as a pass rusher on the Ravens who is going to make a difference in the playoffs? I don't know. But I do know Wink can scheme up to get pressure. And if he's got the right tools to do that, which he mostly did with Judon, you see the results.
Yeah, and that's something that sometimes that gets lost in that conversation. Obviously, it's going to be about the players, always players first. He says that. Mm-hmm. He says that himself. It's always about the players, always will be. But what's the value add of having a coach like him who can scheme pressure the way that he does? Because everybody can't do it. Nope. So.
No, they cannot.
So there's value in that
struggle with that. Indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. So that might, here goes another note. That might be another thing that we have to dig into as the season goes on and look at some of the pressures that Wink dials up and some of the specific things that he does probably in a game and maybe, over the course of games just to kind of get a feel for, what he's doing there. But we've got 7 plays we're going to look at tonight. I kind of just want to give some context on these to make sure that people understand that here's why we picked these 7 plays. So these 7 plays really align with what Denard just explained. These are going to be a sack that resulted in a couple different things, right? It's not just one thing. So it could be a sack that led to a punt where the Ravens get the ball and then they score on that immediate possession, right? As soon as they receive that punt, they go down the field and they score. So that's one category. I think this very first one that we're going to see is a sack that actually leads to them kneeling out the game. This is like a game ender in this one, in this Texans game. So that's another one. And then I think that was it. I think I tried to get the ones there that were sacks that led to points or either ended the game, right? Because we had a group of like 14 plays that were all sacks, but those other ones didn't result in the Ravens scoring points. So not that they're not important, but we're going to set those aside and maybe get to those at another point. We just want to focus on these impact sacks tonight. So with that said, let's kick it off. We are here in week 2. These are all from the 2020 season. We're going to start off in week 2 against the Texans. You could see the game situations, 4th quarter, 3:19 on the clock, 3rd and 5, right? This is Texans have the ball, 3rd and 5. They are down, let's score 33-16 at this point. So Let's dial this bad boy up.
I think one of the coolest things about this is where Jimmy Smith starts. And this whole play throws off the Texans' count from the very beginning.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Here, let's go
There's
back.
Ravens are one of the few teams who disguise everything to look the same.
So here he is right here creeping up.
Yep. So hold it right there.
Yeah. Oh.
You rewind it back just a
right.
Stop it right there. All right. So if you're looking at this play as an offensive coach, offensive line, you do not know anything that is transpiring, but you do know that at least 4 are coming. You just don't know from how he schemes things up. He's typically looking for one-on-one matchups. And a good defensive coordinator would do this. And we'll see this later, but you can see that he's giving McPhee on the right-hand side a free rein. He wants McPhee one-on-one with the tackle. And everybody else on the left-hand side, he's either doing a game or just straight rushing. And then for giggles, he'll throw in Chuck Clark, who will just fill in the hole. So Chuck is literally watching the back. And if the back stays home, Chuck's going to go. And I think on this play, he does.
So let's let it roll.
Yep.
There you go. So we'll bring it back one more time just so you can see all of that you talked about. And you can see how he gets right in there. And it looks like the line, they slid.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the one thing that is beautiful about the Ravens when they play out of conference or even out of division is these teams like the Texans don't see this. So you get to see the beauty of the mind that is Wink. We don't get to see this against Cleveland. We don't get to see this against Pittsburgh. We don't get to see this against Cincinnati because they've seen all this. And they know if we overload one side, the blitz is coming from the other side. And every once in a while, we'll get tricky.
Divisional games.
Yeah, and every once in a while, we'll get tricky and bring it from the loaded side, but it's not very conducive to coverage if you do that. So you got to be very careful if you send more than 4 and you bring them from the wrong side or from the strong side, because then when you have quarterbacks like Tom Brady, Drew Brees, he's throwing hot in this flat. As soon as he sees the pressure, he's going to either get rid of the ball, throw it on the ground, and we see Tom Brady do that. And everybody's like, why is Tom Brady throwing it on the ground? Because he's not setting up his wide receiver, and he's going to live for another day.
That's right. Smart man, smart man. So before we go on to the next play, let me just, I'll pause it up right there. People probably remember from that game. So the Texans forced a punt after that sack, right? Ravens take over on their own 29. First play, J.K. Dobbins rips off a 44-yard run down to the Houston 27. 3 kneel downs later, game's over.
Yep.
So that was one of those impacts. Yeah, one of those impact sacks where it didn't necessarily lead to points, but it didn't have to because it basically closed out the game, right? That was their last gasp on that play. Maybe they were thinking they were going to go down and maybe get a stop and use their timeouts and get the ball back and have another shot. No, didn't happen, right? And it was all set up by that sack.
Yep, agreed.
All right, so next play we're going to go to is Week 5 versus Cincinnati, first Cincinnati game. So this situation, here we are. This is earlier in the game. This is the first quarter. There were a lot of sacks in this game. This is a 3rd and 5 situation, pretty early in the game, 13:43 on the clock, 0-0. So let's let this one play. Joe Burrow's first game against the Ravens. And you can tell just there's a lot going on up there.
A lot.
And
But
as
it's
good as he
important.
was in
Yeah,
2019 at LSU, this is a different ball game up here.
right. But this is even important. This is his first series of the game. First series, Joe Burrow's on the field with the Ravens. You have to make a statement. If there's any tricks in your bag, you're at least using one. And I think they used it right here.
So I'll stop it right here. I think I'll start doing this on as we go. I'll stop it from the wide and then also stop it on the tight. So if there's anything you want to point out, just let me know.
So you got Bowser down at the bottom. Obviously, he looks like he's rushing. And where's the overload, though? In your mind, as an offensive coordinator or offensive player, where's the overload in your mind? It's at the top of the screen.
Yep.
So most likely, the blitz is coming from the top of the screen, which is why sometimes in years before, the Ravens got a little predictable. And I think they've gotten a lot better about that in the last couple of years. Wink has been very much more readily changed things up. But, for a while there, you knew where the Ravens were coming from in terms of their blitz package. They've gotten a lot better. But this is why Tyus Bowser is the most important person for the Ravens next year on this clip, and you can run it.
And you see that Bowser a lot
stops
where he shows rush and then he drops.
So he stops the 3rd and 5 play because that's going to Boyd, 83, because of the outside alignment, of Chuck Clark. So Joe Burrow knows I got slant right now. He's thinking in his mind right now. So this is a beautiful part about zone fires and defenses, which is he may have saw it at LSU, but he didn't see the speed of it that he sees now.
A little bit different. A little bit different here. And you can see, that stuff's just not there. Those crossers.
No.
It's just not there. Hold on.
Game plan. Know who you're playing.
We'll go.
Very important as a defensive coordinator to understand what the offense's base 3 passing plays, what they love, and I would say their top 5 running plays. And that's kind of how you start your game plan from the very beginning. So the Ravens know, and the Bengals know, the Ravens like to bring pressure. And the Bengals have been very good about drags, crossers, especially with their new coach. This is what they love to do offensively. So it's important, particularly in this game at the very beginning, is to set the tone and make sure Burrow knows that it's different. Everything's going to be different.
And it definitely was that day.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't right the rest of the game after that one. After that first series.
I didn't write down the number of sacks. I forget how many they had in that game.
I want to say 6 or 7.
It was up there. It was up there. But the reason that this fits into the impact sack category is after that sack, Cincinnati punts, Ravens take over at their 20, go on a 5-play drive and kick a field goal. So now it's 3-0. So before this sack, 0-0 game.
Yep.
After this sack and an offensive series, it's 3-0. So next, I think we saw a little sneak preview of this one. We're going to Philly. That Eagles game that probably had a lot of people a little nervous there at the end of that game.
I will say people, when you have to pass rush 25 times in a quarter, that's the type of game you're going to end up with.
Yeah. The guy's going to wear down. Pass rushing
Wear
will take
down.
its toll on you. Because, yeah, you're looking at it here, right? Where this clip that we're going to look at, we're in the second quarter, just beginning of the second quarter. Ravens up 14-0. You know, you would say, well, if you're somebody who didn't see this game and you heard me say that, you're probably thinking, well, what would be the issue? Well, things changed in that second half, particularly in that fourth quarter. And to your point, because they were pass rushing so much, you know, guys started to wear down and Eagles were making plays. And I mean, it went down to the last with Matthew Judon and LJ Fort making a stop down there. I think it was like some kind of QB keep or something. I think was on that last play. I don't remember it exactly, but let's take a look at this one. So we've already set the situation. Yeah, so let's run it. Take a look. So I'm gonna let it run and then we'll go back and we can stop it. You can see very similar thing again. Bunch of dudes up there on the line.
Yep. And trying to get Judon isolated on the left tackle. And the Eagles did their due diligence and rolled away from it on 3rd and 4. Or what was that, 3rd and 3?
3rd and 5.
3rd and 5.
So let's go back to the wide. A little bit more.
Impact sack. And it's not just beating the rusher or beating the offensive lineman right off the get. This is what makes the Ravens so beautiful to watch. Because when it's all working, secondary, linebackers, D-line, you'll see this all day.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll just be locked on. And you don't have to. The pass rush is not necessary as much if all three levels are working at the same time. And for years, there's always been one level not working. It was linebackers until Queen and Harrison showed up. The D-line's still looking for that Suggs type player where not only is he dominant at the run, but he gives you those impact sacks that Suggs was known for by jumping up and snagging a slip screen or quick rip, and he's inside 2-yard loss, and 3rd and 1, we're getting on the field 4th and 3. Like, the Ravens don't have that quite yet up front, but the guy from Penn State, I think he's got the run chops. The question is, can he turn around and give you both?
Yeah. That was the thing that was so special about Suggs, man, is that he could get his and then he set other guys up so that they can make plays too. So he did it in the run game, he did it in the pass game. I mean, those kinds of guys are just rare, you know, who can affect the game that way. But to your point about all three levels doing their job, I mean, just the secondary right here, who's open? Where do you go with this ball if you're Carson Wentz?
Yeah.
I mean, you could try to force it there, but is that open?
Nope. Yeah. and here's why Carson. I don't mean to knock Carson Wentz at this point, but this is why Carson Wentz is now in Indianapolis. This ball needs to be gone. This ball needs to be airmailed over the guy in the slot, and you don't take this sack.
Because, yeah, you're rolling out here. Look, I mean, decision has to be made.
Yeah.
I mean,
this impact sack is on Carson Wentz more than anything than the offensive line or even what the Ravens are doing.
There you go. See, I didn't even think about that when we talk about impact. What was the quarterback's impact?
Yeah. And if that offensive lineman doesn't get in the way of him cutting back, he's most likely going to fumble that football.
Mm-hmm. That probably saved him from turning that ball over.
Yep. And once again, where's all the blitzers at?
There you go. You see that overload up top. You think it's coming.
So the crazy part is every once in a while they'll pull a trigger and send from that side.
That's true. They keep you, they're going to keep you honest, right? Because you'll see it and you'll think, well, they're not going to come from that side. They haven't come from that side. And then they do come from that side.
Yep.
So they'll keep you honest. Now, this one, what happened after this one? This was crazy. No, not yet. I'm getting ahead of myself. That's Pittsburgh. All right, this one, they punt. Eagles punt after that situation, obviously. Ravens take over on their 38, 4-play drive, kick a field goal. So now 14-0 games, now 17-0 game, and, things are looking pretty good. Of course, we know it got dicey there at the end.
What was the final score again? You remember?
That is a good question. I'd have to look that one up to figure out what the final score of that game was, because
Take a peek myself.
You had to think at that point when it's 17-0 earlier in the second quarter, you're feeling pretty good about things. But that score ended up being, where's the final? 30-28 Ravens. So
how much did that field goal really mean right there? just saying.
A 2-point win, that 3-pointer right there. Hey,
Eagles go down and kick a field goal on this drive. How much does that change the rest of the game? Now, who knows how that would have played out? But I'm just saying.
You don't know, but that 2-point win, that's probably in jeopardy if you don't get those 3 points somewhere. Maybe it wouldn't necessarily be on that particular drive that it turned out to be, but you were going to need them somewhere in order to close that deal, which they did. So, let's move past that one. But that was a win. We'll take that. A win's a win. So here we are. This is, where are we at in Pittsburgh? Week 8. All right. This is a Week 8 Pittsburgh game. Pretty tight game at this point. We're second quarter, 4:42 left. Ravens up 14-7. It's 3rd and 12 situation.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look what Wake's got died. Oh, I think I remember this one. This was one of my favorite ones, I think. If this is the pressure, I think it is. Where Yannick's going to loop inside. I think this is it. Oh, yeah, that's the one.
And this is the rare time they came from the stack side, because it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they know all the tricks. They know all your tricks.
Because Ben is looking right now. He's like, I'm going to check. We're going to slide left because the blitz would normally come from the left.
Yep.
Let's see what the linemen change. Yep. We all we slid left thinking.
And this was one that I had down, and I definitely wanted to ask you about this in particular, because I was like, this is just a nasty situation right here for an offensive line. So I'll see if I can't pause it right. Okay. So for me, I'm looking at the right side, right?
Yep.
So I got 2 to block 3 over here. Mm-hmm. Assuming, maybe 3 to block 3 if the back stays, but the back's going to the other side because, like you said, they're thinking about the slide. Yep. So, but then I'm looking at this point. I'm looking at the center, right? So the center knows, I know the Ravens. I know how they roll. I see Chris Board coming. I see, Campbell's coming at me, trying to split me, but I see Chris Board. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick him up. But then they loop Yannick in from the other side, and the center can't be right.
Well, the game plan was DaCosta. He reaches. You can his head never spins. It never leaves his man. So they saw on film that DaCosta's been getting laced. DeCastro's been getting lazy. So this is McPhee making a hole. And this is Elliott on the outside, literally just there as a placeholder. So this was designed not only for the right guard, but also Pouncey, because Pouncey sees it, but he's got to pay attention to Board.
Right.
So it's all working together. See, his head looks, because he knows the Ravens, he knows there's a looper coming. But he also, Ravens put in his plate Board.
Yep. So
I'm like, he's gonna be wrong regardless.
Yeah. I'm like, there's nothing that he can do there. And because of the point that you made earlier about the overload, the back's going all the way to the other side. If the back stayed home, maybe they could pick that up on that side. But
that's but it's slide protection. And
so he's got to go.
And when you slide protect, the back's got to go opposite.
Yeah. So he's got to go. And then you get 71 here blocking air. So
yeah. They had him set up.
You got to love that. And, they almost get a turnover out of this. This ball comes loose, but Ben's able to get it back. Now, here's the one that was kind of crazy about this. So, Steelers punt. Ravens take over at their 8, right? Good job by the punter. Getting them pinned back there deep. Ravens go on a 17-play drive and kick a field goal. So you may say, all right, they only got 3 points out of that, but 17 plays.
17 plays.
To make the score 17-7. At that point now.
Yeah, but turnovers equals it up.
Yeah, 4 turnovers for the Ravens in this game. We all, unfortunately remember this one. I think there was at least 1 pick 6 in this game.
Yeah, it was the third play of the game. Second or third play of the game?
Yeah, it was early. It was early on.
I mean, I just sat down.
Because this one was there. This one was there. This one was certainly winnable. But you can't turn the ball over.
Is this before or after the Titans?
This was before. This was right after the bye. This was coming out of the bye.
So I personally think that some of these cats probably had COVID and didn't know it. Going into the Titans week.
Yeah, because after this game was the Colts, and we know a couple dudes missed the Colts game.
Right, because they tested positive on Sunday.
Yeah, a couple dudes missed the Colts game because of it.
So that means they were sick midweek.
Yeah, it was probably spreading throughout the team at this point.
Yeah, it started Sunday, and it ended up taking the whole squad by the end of the week.
Yeah. So yeah, this was coming out of the bye, week 8. They played the Colts after this, then that rain game against the Patriots, then the Titans, and then that crazy second Steelers game where almost everybody was out for the Ravens. So let's go to our next play. Speaking of that crazy rain game, here we are, week 10 in New England. Where are we at here? This is first quarter, 6. Another early part. Yeah, 8 minutes, a little over 8 minutes to go. 3rd and 6 on the 34. And this is kind of, I know we looked at this play a couple times. This is another one of those that you pointed out where they were trying to isolate Judon.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a rookie out there, right tackle, rookie from Michigan. I forget his name, but he was a rookie. Michael Owinu, maybe Owinu. I might be.
Yeah, I think you're right. But they're knocking them out of field goal range. Impact sack, save 3 points.
There it is. And you made a point. You'll be able to see it more from the tight. You made a point about this to me about where Patrick Queen was lined up. So
yes. Most important part of this play. Most important part. Because they know the Patriots love to release their backs. That's just what they do. And so you have to, as a defense, make the running back honor linebackers and D linemen. You have to do it. If you don't, he's going to have free reign. That's why Christian McCaffrey is legitimately probably the baddest dude on the planet, because people don't know how to treat him. You literally go smack him in the mouth every time he comes out of the backfield, anytime he touches the football. So here, Patrick Queen's job, and his only job, is to make sure that running back comes to him and doesn't chip Judon. So that's why he's set up inside. We've seen before where it's Chuck Clark on the outside of Judon, but that was with the Eagles. Eagles like to flare their backs.
Okay.
Patriots like to run the angle routes or the backs up into the line of scrimmage because they like to run a lot of screens. So that's why Patrick Queen is inside. But also, to the point of this play, once again, Wink is dialing up a chance to get his team off the field without actually having someone have to win a true one-on-one.
So Patrick Queen right here for everybody to see. And then just watch that tackle's reaction. He's never getting out there.
Nope.
To cut Judon off. And
if Judon doesn't get there in time, where's that ball going? Right to the back. It's probably 6. Because the two knuckleheads down here, Clark, and I remember watching this play on TV. That just reminded me, because I was literally like, this should have been 6 if Cam had any type of anticipation. Like, seriously, all he had to do was just lay it out there past Chuck Clark's head, and I think Gaffney takes this to the house, or whoever 16 was at that point.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even see. I was watching the back. I didn't see them guys get tangled up. Clark gets tangled up.
Boom. Oh,
yeah.
That's the stuff that makes you nervous as a defensive coordinator.
We'll take that all day right there. That was a 7-yard loss on that sack. As you saw, the Ravens took over after the Patriots punted. Another good punt. They took over on their 6. Ravens go on a 13-play TD scoring drive. So got 7 out of that one after being on their 6 in those conditions, in those rainy conditions. People might remember that touchdown. That was a jet sweep to Willie Snead down there in the tight red zone against the Patriots. So 0-0 game before that sack, 7-0 game after that sack. And in those kind of conditions, I mean, 7 points, you might be thinking, hey, if we get a field goal out of this, that might be enough. Turned out not to be. Again, turnovers,
flat play.
Their ugly head there. I don't think they had that many. Actually, no, they only had 1 in that game. But
they were just really flat on offense all night.
Yeah, and even the Patriots, I remember Belichick saying it was like somebody turned up the rain every time the Ravens got the ball. He said it was crazy that it happened to start raining so much harder every time.
I remember one series they went out there and I think they were down like 3. The Patriots just scored, and the Patriots were driving and it was just like a mist. And literally the Ravens got the ball. It was like a driving sideways rain. Somebody had turned up the wind. I was like, jeez.
What are you gonna do? But a good example of that, like you said, taking a team out of field goal range, getting the ball back from your offense, and your offense going down and putting it in the paint. Obviously you want to come out of there with a win, but if you're at that point in the game, you're pretty happy about how that series turned out. So here we are moving on to Dallas, and this was a point that you made right at the top. This is the play about what these impact sacks can do.
This is it. This is the crown jewel of all impact sacks. This is how I feel like it all, this is the perfect impact sack. We'll say that.
Yeah, because look at this situation. So it's fourth quarter, right? Just beginning the first play of the fourth quarter. You're looking at the score and you're saying Ravens are up 24-10. What are we talking about here? Well, look where the ball's at. Cowboys are on the Ravens 26, right? 37, 3rd and 7. They get 7 here. It's a ball game, right? It's 24-17 if they get 7 here. So let's play it and let's see what the old Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, has in store for us.
You already know you're getting too deep coverage, maybe. Oh, yeah, I remember this now. Even more. So this is what advanced scouting gets you. They knew exactly what route Dallas loved inside of the red zone. Dallas just happened to run it at the 26 because they knew they needed to get points. So if you go back to the wide and just watch the secondary,
got to give me a clicker.
Everybody knew what the routes were.
All right.
Chuck Clark knew the routes.
And this was I saw Chris Board too dropping out under that third receiver. And you can see right there, that seems to be where Dalton wants to go with the ball. But
he's looking there first. Board's not even worried about him running a drag. That's the wildest part of this. Like, he is not worried about it. He went right to the hash because he knew that's what Dallas likes to run. And then up top, Humphrey plays this beautifully. It's kind of the Steeler trap without the Steeler trap.
Yeah, that 2 trap.
Yeah. The Steelers, that's their favorite thing to do up there. And this obviously makes.
No, go ahead.
No, I was saying this obviously makes Dalton have to pull it down and pull it down again.
Right into Jihad Ward.
Mm-hmm. That man
and
just
to your point,
hard.
like you said, they'll scheme on one, and then they'll run these games inside, and you see the game between Wolf, or we're about to see the game between Wolf and Ward. You just got two vets working this game inside.
They obviously saw something with the center because that's too easy.
Yeah, look at him. He's flying.
You can't get blown out of there like that, like a center.
Yeah. Watch 73 here. Where's where he's going to end up at? Look at
No. You as my coach Mickey Matthews used to say, no.
Let's no. Here's the center, right? I would imagine for an offensive lineman being in this position where you're looking back at your quarterback, it's probably not someplace that you want to be. So not a good look for him right there. But so to close this one out, like you said, what made this such a great example, right? So obviously we saw the sack. Now, that was going to be, let's just say they got no gain. Let's just say that was incomplete, right? And now they're fourth down. They're looking at a 44-yard field goal right from that spot, right? Mm-hmm. But now because of the 8-yard loss on the sack, knocks the field goal back to 52 yards, and they missed the kick. So now you go from maybe having a chance at 7, probably having a really good chance at 3, to getting nothing. The Ravens take over and go on a 10-play drive and kick a field goal. Now it's 27-10. And
3-score game, game over.
Three-score game. Yeah, you still got a big chunk of the fourth quarter left, but not even that, because they just went on a 10-play drive. So you've got some time in the fourth quarter left, but now it's a 3-score game. So like you said, that's like the perfect example of how a sack can truly impact a game, like change the game, literally. And that's what that did. So here we are in week 15. I think this is our last one. Yeah, week 15 versus the Jags. Now this one, look, you can see the game situation, right? Score is out of hand, 33-7, late in the third quarter, third and 13. So you may say, well, look, what impact is this going to have? Game's over. You know, what's the impact here? Well, guess what? We want the ball back. That's the impact, right? We want it back. We don't want you to put any points back on the board.
Right?
You got 7. We don't want you putting any more. Actually drop 8.
Yeah.
And Yannick gets the ball out.
But this is also, like you said, yes, it's an impact, but this is also kind of the example of why certain sacks may not be equal to other sacks.
Right.
Because he's got a sack, a forced fumble that's going on his stat line, and someone's going to see that and go, man, he had a monster game against his old squad. But they're not going to know that sack, forced fumble happened at the end of the third quarter, and the Ravens pretty much had the game all locked up before the halftime was over.
And really, to that point, is it's really on Minshew. It's really on the quarterback more than I mean, good on Yannick for getting the ball out there at the end, but Minshew runs into that.
Yes.
So like you said, if you just look at the stat, you're thinking, oh man, he must have beat up on the tackle or blew by the tackle or did whatever. When Minshew basically ran himself into that.
He just that's Brett Favre and Michael Strahan, basically. Need that 21st sack? I got you.
And I remember we were looking at this play the other day, and you were like, hey, at this point in the game with the score is, take a shot on one of those seam routes in there. Just fire that thing in there.
I'm shocked he didn't throw the dig at the bottom of the screen.
But instead, he
I'm just shocked. He didn't stay in the
pocket
there and throw that. Yeah.
And he loses the ball. So That's the good thing about this. I actually like finishing on this note because it kind of brings it full circle, right? We the last two plays, we saw the Dallas game and really what probably paints the clearest picture of, what you had in mind with this, and then the opposite end of the spectrum, one that could be a little bit misleading.
Mhm.
So those were our 7 plays. Uh, Overall thoughts, right? As we get ready to land this plane and close this thing, overall thoughts about sacks, impact sacks, and maybe even give the people a little bit of a potential preview of some ideas that you might have coming up.
Yeah, so in terms of sacks, impact sacks, and pressures, I think as a defensive coordinator, it's important, and I think Wink would say this too, that getting pressure is one thing, but getting quality pressure is different. And I think that's kind of goes along with the sacks and the quality sacks and the impact sacks. Sacks are great. Stat fillers and things along that sort. But what the Ravens has struggled with in recent years is closing out games. And if you don't have the individuals who can make impact plays, make impact sacks, and change the course of games, not only early in the game, but late in the game, then you're going to run into some issues. And you see that with certain teams that have quality quarterback play. And I think as we kind of go through this and we look back at 2020, we get ready for 2021 with the Ravens on defense, I think it's important that people see that they are looking at a youth movement in terms of up front and at the linebacker spot, because they know they have to get faster. They know they have to get quicker. And to make impacts on games, you've got to have impact players who can go do that, who can make plays. And I think as we watch this going through the season, I think if you pay attention to this, the times of the sacks and when they happen, I think you understand more about what's going on the field instead of thinking first down, he gets a sack, and it's 2nd and 15, and you're like, man, he got a sack. That's a big play. What happens on 3rd down? Did they get the first down? And that sack didn't mean nothing because they're still driving. So that's what I see as we go forward and we pay attention to this. It's something that will be good to keep tabs on and evaluate, and maybe we'll put a point system together and we'll have a impact score for each player for every game or something like that. Who knows?
Man, you just said a word. You just said a word right there. You just said a word right there, because we know, right? We're in this analytics age with football, and fans kind of being into that more than ever. Obviously, you've got the fantasy angle. Everybody loves fantasy. I love fantasy.
Yeah.
So that's a metric that really would be pretty cool, because one thing we also talked about, people may know Brandon Thorne out there at Brandon Thorne NFL on Twitter. He did his true sack rate, right, where he was really looking at individual matchups and the quality of a rush move, right, and kind of putting a metric to that, which is awesome. It's awesome work. But you mentioned, hey, but there's another piece of that, right, and it's what you talked about tonight. What is the true impact of these sacks, the true effect, right? Not just the move and the quality of the move and the quality of the opponent, where that's obviously important, but how did it impact the game?
Yeah, I did set it up for the rest. So that's kind of what I'm going to be looking at as we go through this. But I'm a defensive guru, so I'm thinking as we go through this, throw me some ideas in terms of what you guys want to see. But I'm thinking about going through game plans and showing you guys how game planning for the offense and how possibly even the Ravens would be preparing defensively against our opponent coming up. So I got a lot of ideas up in his head. I'm going to let Mike kind of steer me a little bit and keep me tight when it comes to these things. But I think if people understand how teams go in and game plan going forward, it's not just what plays are going to score, who am I going to attack, how am I going to attack. Defensively, people always wonder, like, why do teams sit back at the beginning of games? Well, you don't want to give away all your secrets. So you want to see what the offense game planned all week. And that's why when you see games get started and teams go down and score 7 points, they're like, oh my goodness, they're going to go run right down this defensive throat. No. We just paid attention. We made our notes. And when that second series comes out, that's when you know the defensive coordinator either knows what he's doing or he doesn't know what he's doing.
Well, it's going to be a fun ride, man. I'm looking forward to the season. I think everybody's looking forward to it. I'm just a passenger on this ride. Denard is driving. I'm along for the ride, but definitely hit us with your feedback. You can hit, leave some comments about what you thought about this video, or share some of your ideas in the comments to this video. You can hit either one of us up on Twitter. You see my handle up there at Abukari, and Denard's easy. You see his name at Denard, just add a 13. And boom, there you are. You reach him on Twitter, and you can hit him up with your ideas, or, just, chop it up, right? Because we're all Ravens fans. We all love this team and really looking forward to what they're going to do this year. So as always, Cole always has to remind me to do this. Click that like button, click that subscribe button, leave some comments, and we'll be back at you soon with another episode of Two Guys Watching Football. We are out.